I'm David Toman, author of Nootropics Expert and this YouTube channel. In this video, you'll discover the nootropic benefits of 5-HTP. Now, this is an update to a video I made on 5-HTP several years ago. You'll learn why 5-HTP is sometimes used as a nootropic supplement. You'll learn what it is, how much to use, or the recommended 5-HTP dosage, how many times per day to use it, the potential side effects, and why I don't recommend 5-HTP as a nootropic supplement. So why should you listen to this video about 5-HTP? Well, because 5-HTP is the immediate precursor of serotonin. And as a nootropic and dietary supplement, 5-HTP is popular with those who advocate its effectiveness in treating depression, along with a number of other serotonin-related diseases. But using 5-HTP for treating depression and anxiety is not supported by science. The research is contrary to how 5-HTP is viewed by many, including medical doctors. When we dig into the research, we find that 5-HTP may be contraindicated for depression in those whom marketers advocate its use. Now, we're all for boosting neurotransmitter levels and optimizing cognitive performance here at Nootropics Expert. But now and again, I run into a nootropic or dietary supplement that may be popular, but also may be a particularly bad idea. We're going to get to the bottom of how 5-HTP works in your brain in this video. We'll examine why it's critical for brain health and reasons why you may want to find another way to boost serotonin levels in your brain. Sound good? Now, before we get started, please hit the subscribe button for my channel. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps YouTube know to suggest this channel to someone else who may need this information too. And hit the share button so others can learn about 5-HTP and how it may help them or potentially prevent them from reaching their brain health goals. So stay with me for a few minutes and I'll tell you more about 5-HTP. Let's get started. 5-HTP is an amino acid that's synthesized from the essential amino acid tryptophan. Tryptophan is hydroxylated by tryptophan hydroxylase to 5-HTP, which is 5-hydroxytryptophan, then decarboxylated to serotonin. So it goes from tryptophan to 5-HTP to serotonin. 80 to 90% of your body's serotonin is made in your gut. But serotonin cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. So all the serotonin that your brain needs has to be made within your brain. This is where 5-HTP comes in. 5-HTP crosses the blood-brain barrier more readily than tryptophan and gets synthesized into serotonin at a faster rate than from tryptophan. As a neurotransmitter, serotonin influences directly and indirectly the majority of brain cells. So if you want to boost serotonin in your brain, some find that supplementing with 5-HTP is better than taking tryptophan. Tryptophan, which your body uses to make 5-HTP, can be found in turkey, milk, chicken, potatoes, pumpkin, sunflower seeds, turnip and collard greens, and seaweed. 5-HTP as a nootropic supplement is a naturally occurring amino acid extracted from seed pods of Griffonia simplicifolia, found in West and Central Africa. 5-HTP content in extracts of this plant vary from 2 to 20.83% from seeds obtained from Ghana. 5-HTP is a precursor to serotonin. The neurotransmitter serotonin plays a role in sleep, appetite, learning and memory, mood, and sexual function. When tryptophan's role in converting to 5-HTP for boosting serotonin doesn't work efficiently, the result is often depression, chronic headache, and insomnia. An open-label trial was conducted in Italy to determine the efficacy of using 5-HTP in young subjects with high levels of romantic stress. Serotonin had been linked to human romantic attachment. So researchers in this study set out to determine brain levels of brain-derived nootropic factor and serotonin in relation to changes in romantic stress during the study. 15 healthy subjects, mean age 23.3 years, who had a romantic breakup, took part in the study. Participants received 60 milligrams of Griffonia simplicifolia extract containing 12.8 milligrams of 5-HTP daily for 6 weeks. The subjects were evaluated for brain-derived nootropic factor and serotonin levels at the beginning of the study, at 3 weeks, and then again at the end of the 6-week trial. The scientists observed significant improvements in romantic stress scores from weeks 0 through 3. So far, 5-HTP seems to be working. But no further improvement was seen from weeks 3 through 6, even though the young people had significantly higher levels of BDNF and serotonin. The romantic breakup study is a classic illustration of why 5-HTP alone to treat depression and stress may not work, and if it does not work, why it may not work for long. Depression is often more than simple serotonin dysfunction. Depression can also be associated with catecholamine dysfunction, including dopamine and/or norepinephrine, or a combination of serotonin and catecholamine dysfunction. When you take 5-HTP alone, you are also depleting dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine. Synthesis of serotonin from 5-HTP and dopamine from L-DOPA is catalyzed by the same enzyme, L-aromatic amino acid decarboxylase, or AAAD. Dopamine and serotonin precursor supplementation must be taken in proper balance, because when you use only 5-HTP, it dominates dopamine at the AAAD enzyme synthesis level. Blocking dopamine synthesis at the AAAD enzyme through competitive inhibition will lead to depletion of dopamine and the rest of the catecholamines. Now, going back to our Italian study of young people dealing with romantic stress, the subjects stopped responding to 5-HTP in the second half of the study, likely because their catecholamines became depleted through continuous 5-HTP supplementation. Now, studies have found that when dopamine is depleted enough, 5-HTP will no longer function. When catecholamine neurotransmitters, dopamine or norepinephrine, influence depression, supplementing with 5-HTP alone is not the way to go, because you may deplete dopamine and norepinephrine, worsening the disease and its underlying cause. But this contraindication is not exclusive to depression. It extends to all other diseases where catecholamine dysfunction has been implicated, including ADHD, obesity, anxiety, seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, and Parkinson's disease. Amino acid precursors of serotonin and dopamine work together during synthesis, metabolism, and transport to the point that they function as one system. When serotonin and dopamine are properly balanced, functions that are regulated only by serotonin can be regulated by manipulating dopamine levels. And functions regulated only by dopamine in this balanced state can be regulated by manipulating serotonin. When you mess with this balance and improperly supplement with serotonin or dopamine precursors, you don't get the desired effect of using that nootropic, and you increase the possibility of side effects. If you supplement with only one precursor, for example, 5-HTP to boost serotonin, that dominates the other system. For example, dopamine synthesis. Depletion of the dominated system will occur. In other words, depleted dopamine. And if this effect is pronounced enough, you will not get the benefit you are aiming for when supplementing with the original precursor, 5-HTP. A powerful example of this effect is in the management of Parkinson's disease, where the effects of L-DOPA stops working over time due to serotonin depletion. Since serotonin and dopamine cannot cross the blood-brain barrier, the number of serotonin and dopamine molecules in your brain is a function of the amount of nutrients or amino acid precursors that are available to be synthesized into new neurotransmitter molecules. Optimizing brain function with minimal side effects is not a function of supplementing until you get sufficiently high amino acid levels. It's a function of achieving the proper balance between serotonin and dopamine. 5-HTP is absolutely critical for the synthesis of serotonin in your brain, but supplementing with 5-HTP to boost serotonin does not work well. Using 5-HTP to treat depression has had very little success over the last few decades of clinical trials and biohacking. Integrating 5-HTP into your nootropic stack is much more complicated than simply adding some 5-HTP in order to boost serotonin. 5-HTP alone will not work for depression and/or any other issue you're dealing with involving the catecholamines, including dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine, because of 5-HTP's tendency to deplete those neurotransmitters. 5-HTP will boost serotonin in your brain, but 5-HTP must be carefully stacked with precursors for dopamine and norepinephrine, or you risk making the situation worse. You must avoid supplementing with only one of the serotonin or dopamine amino acid precursors. When amino acid precursors are not in balance, you end up with decreased effectiveness of that nootropic, in increased side effects and depletion of the non-dominant system. In other words, too much serotonin suppresses dopamine, and too much dopamine suppresses serotonin. They must be in balance for you to feel good. Reactions to supplementing with 5-HTP vary considerably, but one consistent theme is initial feelings of well-being, better sleep, less need for sleep, improved mood, less social anxiety, lower appetite, improved tolerance for stress, and improved cognitive function. But after a couple of weeks of using 5-HTP, the side effects begin. Serotonin overload results in dopamine and norepinephrine depletion. Side effects include feelings of lethargy, depression, brain fog, stomach pain, and headaches, and worst case scenario is nausea, vomiting, and even blacking out. Neurohackers report consistent success supplementing with 5-HTP, stack it with a bioactive B complex and a dopamine precursor like L-tyrosine, and only use 5-HTP as needed. And those who have had bad experience with 5-HTP from the start often have no idea why they're reacting badly. But an educated guess is their depression was catecholamine related. In other words, problems with dopamine and norepinephrine. And boosting serotonin made their dopamine-related issues worse very quickly. Now, one huge word of warning, but do not take 5-HTP with any antidepressant medication. You put yourself in the very real danger of serotonin syndrome, which can ultimately kill you. Five HTP supplements are heavily marketed as a natural remedy for depression, but the science does not support using 5-HTP for depression. Now, we have decades of clinical trials available, and there is no evidence of the efficacy of using 5-HTP for depression. The Department of Public Health at the University of Queensland Medical School in Australia did a systematic review of literature dating from 1966 to 2000 for 5-HTP and depression. The researchers found that 108 clinical studies, of which only 2 studies, one with serotonin and one with L-tryptophan, for a total of 64 patients, met sufficient quality criteria to be included. These studies suggested that serotonin and L-tryptophan are better than placebo at alleviating depression. But the researchers noted the small size of the studies and the large number of inadmissible, poorly executed studies cast doubt on the results from post-potential publication bias, and it suggests that they are insufficiently evaluated to assess their effectiveness. A double-blind controlled study in Italy studied the efficacy of using 5-HTP in treating fibromyalgia symptoms. 50 patients with primary fibromyalgia syndrome were selected for this study. This 1990 study did not publish the amount of 5-HTP used, but the researchers found a significant improvement in fibromyalgia symptoms with only mild and transient side effects. Insufficient activity of the neurotransmitter serotonin and norepinephrine is a central element in the model of depression most widely held by neurobiologists today. In the late 1970s and 1980s, numerous studies were performed in which depressed patients were treated with the serotonin precursors tryptophan and 5-HTP, and the dopamine and norepinephrine precursors L-tyrosine and L-phenylalanine. A summary published in the Alternative Medicine Review looked at the data from all of these studies. The author noted that the nature of the studies makes it difficult to draw from conclusions regarding the efficacy of neurotransmitter precursors for treating depression. While there is evidence that precursor loading could work, particularly for serotonin precursor 5-HTP, more studies of suitable design and size might lead to more conclusive results. Those studies have not materialized since the report was published 22 years ago. The recommended dosage of 5-HTP, if you're going to try it, is 50 milligrams 1 to 3 times a day. Now, some studies have used higher doses than the recommended dose, but 5-HTP can be toxic at high doses. For anxiety or depression, 5-HTP is dosed sometimes at 150 to 300 milligrams per day total. To relieve post-MDMA or ecstasy depression, 5-HTP 100 milligrams on day 3 to 7 after MDMA use. Successfully supplementing with 5-HTP requires stacking with a dopamine precursor like L-tyrosine, along with the B vitamins for synthesis, and one of the sulfur-containing amino acids like methionine or cysteine or homocysteine or taurine. Taurine's a good one. I like it. And you must monitor the effects the stack is having on your body. If you start experiencing side effects of any kind, it's a good indicator that either serotonin or dopamine is out of balance. Now, do not combine 5-HTP with any kind of antidepressant medication. Combining SSRIs, tricyclics, or MAOIs with 5-HTP will cause serotonin syndrome, an extremely dangerous condition involving severe mental changes, hot flashes, rapidly fluctuating blood pressure and heart rate, and possibly coma leading to death. Serotonin syndrome can kill you, and I'm not kidding here. 5-HTP supplementation can cause heartburn, heart palpitations, headache, stomach pain, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, drowsiness, sexual problems, and muscle issues. 5-HTP can also cause some pretty radical mood changes, including agitation, aggressiveness, anxiety, euphoria, poor decision-making, irritability, psychosis, restlessness, and insomnia. 5-HTP can make the symptoms of schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and other mental disorders worse. And I can't emphasize this enough, so I'm going to repeat it here in case you missed it. Do not combine 5-HTP with any kind of antidepressant medication or with carbidopa. Combining SSRIs, tricyclics, or MAOIs with 5-HTP will cause serotonin syndrome, an extremely dangerous condition involving severe mental changes, hot flashes, rapidly fluctuating blood pressure and heart rate, and possibly coma. And combining 5-HTP with carbidopa also has the potential of causing serotonin syndrome. Serotonin syndrome can kill you, and I am not kidding. "5-HTP is made from tryptophan in your body. 5-HTP is a nootropic supplement that's made from the extracts of the African tree Griffonia simplicifolia. 5-HTP supplements are typically in tablet or capsule form. You'll often find 5-HTP in many ready-made vitamin and herbal formulas. If you are going to stack low-dose 5-HTP with L-tyrosine, I suggest natural 5-HTP fast-dissolved tablets. Cut the 100 milligram tablet into quarters using a pill splitter and dissolve 25 milligrams of 5-HTP under your tongue or sublingually. So that's my report on 5-HTP. If you want to see links to the studies I talked about, go to my website, nootropicsexpert.com, and search for 5-HTP. Or click on the link below in the notes section of this video. Once you are at my website, Nootropics Expert, you'll find a full transcript of this video. And you'll also find dozens of articles on all the well-known nootropics on Nootropics Expert. If you haven't already, download your free copy of Secrets of the Optimized Brain. It's nearly 100 pages and contains details on 92 of the most popular nootropics used today. And my 4-time award-winning book, the second edition of Head First, The Complete Guide to Healing and Optimizing Your Brain with Nootropic Supplements, is unfortunately out of stock. I'm searching for a new publisher, so please stay tuned, and thanks for your patience as I work to get Headfirst stocked again soon in bookstores worldwide, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. Now, if you could use some personal help in choosing the right nootropics or finding out how to deal with your own brain health issues, you may want to book a personal consultation with me. You'll find a link to my calendar below in the notes section below this video. And if you want to see more videos on all the best nootropics used today, subscribe to this channel before you leave. I'll be putting up new videos on nootropics and optimizing your brain every week. I'm David Toman, author of Nootropics Expert.